This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. Early November in the Midwest isn't typically associated with flowers, even when it's not unseasonably warm. But this week, over 400 folks from North America, plus a few from Europe, are gathering in downtown St. Louis to learn and talk floriculture. And they're here for a first of two kinds. The first Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers Conference to happen in St. Louis, and the first one to focus on urban flower farming. Joining me in studio to talk about that and why it's a big deal, we have two guests. First, Mimo Davis. Mimo is co-owner of Urban Buds, a flower farm located in the Dutchtown neighborhood of South St. Louis, and vice president of the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers. Hello.
Good morning.
We also have Miranda Duschack, Urban Buds co-owner with Mimo and small farm specialist for Lincoln University of Missouri Cooperative Extension. Hello to you too.
Hi, thank you.
Miranda, Mimo, welcome back to St. Louis on the Air.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Now, let's talk about the basics. Urban farming, I think, is more readily associated with growing food. Miranda, what are the key need-to-knows about what an urban flower farm is and what it's not?
Okay, an urban flower farm, the way we see it throughout the country, are commercial, for-profit family farms that have a focus on production and value added. So people are growing high-value, unique floral crops in high density in the city and selling that directly to customers through wedding and event design, through farmers market, and through funerals, things like that. So this urban flower farming movement is really a catalyst for re-envisioning and reshaping what we can think of as both agriculture and urban spaces.
Mm-hmm. So we had opened in this introduction about the conference that is here. So the Association of Specialty Grown Cut Flowers is an education, research, and member support-focused organization, and it's celebrating 35 years this year. And Mimo, I understand that you are now the organization's vice president, but you've been a member of this group for a very long time, and one of a small, albeit growing number of Black flower farmers. So first of all, what did it take to get the conference here in St. Louis, Mimo?
Well, I think that first off, I've been doing it for a long time, and I've been a member a long time. And when I suggested that they come to St. Louis, I think everybody jumped at that opportunity. We're right here. It's easy to get people in and out of St. Louis. It's the gateway to the West, and it just made sense.
Mm-hmm.
People have been really curious about what we've been doing at Urban Buds for a really long time, and this was their opportunity. They leaped at the opportunity to come visit us here in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. Is this because it was not on people's radar in the same way? I mean, what made this year the year for it to happen?
Well, I think that this year is the 35th anniversary. We just, I think we were looking for something different to do, too. I think this is really kind of stretching us out of the box. I wanted to share with people that you could plant where you are,
Mm-hmm.
to change that paradigm of kind of what farming is. When people think of farms, they think of acreage and rolling hills and, these big, long rows of beautiful crops growing, and actually it could be, where you are. If you have dirt, you can plant in it, and we wanted to really share that with our flower farming community, friends, family, all across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were really excited when they agreed to come to St. Louis. It was a really big deal for us.
And how did it feel to get that confirmation that they were coming, Miranda?
Oh, it's such an honor.
And as far as this focus too, or looking at urban flower farming, there are things that have happened over the last several years, in particular, what has happened with the pandemic. Was there some effect that access to flowers had to make people interested in urban flower farming right now?
Yeah, it's a growth sector in agriculture right now is urban flower farming. So just this morning we were learning in our conference about studies that have proven that flowers improve people's quality of life and their mental health. And we saw that very strongly during the pandemic when people were isolated and felt locked inside and scared, quite frankly. Our business boomed and it was really helpful for local growers. So there has been this moment of growth. Now we see with the imports picking back up, with people's spending habits sort of changing, the predictions are we're kind of going to go back to 2019 spending habits within flowers. But beyond that, this is an area where people are excited about agriculture, and we're seeing more and more people getting into it.
Mm-hmm. In the last couple of years, I understand that you grow many flowers. What is it that you grow that people seem to like most, Mima?
Yeah, we grow. We have some major crops that people really love. Our ranunculus in the spring is really popular. Our lisianthus is very, very popular.
What do
we
those
grow
flowers-
over 80 varieties of cut flowers.
Right.
So it's a long list of people love when people come to the farmers market or pick up off our porch. They really enjoy the blooms. And the thing about urban flower farming is that we could cut them the same day.
Mm-hmm.
We could move them. They've never seen a box. They've never seen an airplane. I know that when I travel, how tired I am from planes, trains, and automobiles. That's never happened with these flowers. Mm-hmm. So they last. People always come back to us and go, wow, your flowers lasted like 2 weeks. That's incredible.
Right.
And that's the real advantage of the association, is that most of these growers that are here are really selling in their local communities. And that really has made this industry, our industry, the specialty cut flower industry, really boom.
Mm-hmm. And why is it that the flowers last longer, Miranda?
Yes, the flowers that we grow are harvested at the perfect moment of their harvest stage, and then they're harvested into water using hydrators and clean buckets, correct post-harvest handling, and then they are held in coolers. And the time between harvest and design or harvest and purchase is usually less than 2 days. So our flowers have a 5-day jump on the average flower that you would buy in a store that's imported. It's already been harvested and in a box for 7 days by the time you get it. Mm-hmm. So by being able to grow these unique, fragrant varieties, we are expanding the artist palette in St. Louis. We're expanding what people can use and grow and experience, and that's very exciting.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of palette, is there anything you grow that is edible?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, please tell us about that.
We grow pansies that are edible, stock that is edible. We actually sell stock to chefs here in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So, yes, we do grow some edibles.
Yeah. And is that something that you have incorporated over time? Given what the food scene in St. Louis is like, Miranda, or?
It is. We love expanding people's idea of what they can actually have and what they can eat and what they can appreciate on their dining room table. To expand that palette, we grow flowers that we specialize in flowers that don't do well with shipping, right? So we're able to grow sweet peas and other things that don't do very well, dahlias that don't do very well in a box. So that have problems shipping.
Right.
And that really helps people be like, wow, you grew that here. We grow lupin that people, you're not supposed to be able to grow a lupin in Missouri.
What kind of flower is that?
It's how do you describe a lupin? It's a
highly fragrant flower that's reminiscent, sort of akin to a sweet pea.
Okay.
And they're grow in the cool weather.
Okay. Well, that certainly is coming soon.
Thanks, Miranda.
Yeah, it's all right. It's been a long week.
Yeah. And how is it? And you're just like, you're coming out of the conference to talk with us. So how is it that chefs use the things that you've grown? And is there an example of a local restaurant that you can share? Who wouldn't mind?
Well, one of the advantages of knowing your flower farmer is that the chefs or bakers use our flowers a lot for like cake decorations and things like that, or mixologists use them in drinks. So an advantage of knowing
salads,
knowing our growing practices is that they aren't covered in nasty chemicals. So it can be laid on food. It can be incorporated into different types of treatments with the flowers. One edible crop that we do grow is ginger for the root, and Confluence Kombucha is a good fan and friend of our ginger. So we're very grateful for that as well.
Okay. We are speaking with Miranda Duschack, Urban Buds co-owner and small farm specialist for Lincoln University of Missouri Cooperative Extension, as well as Mima Davis, also co-owner of Urban Buds and longtime flower farmer. We're talking today about urban flower farming. So before we came into the studio, we were talking about the way that urban flower farming is filling a need, that there is a growth in what is happening. And sustainability is one of the things that you all are very, very focused on, but it's also about sustaining a business, right? So how would you say that, that an increased focus or attention to urban flower farming will help the industry, not just here with your business, but elsewhere? Miranda?
Yeah, I think that customers are hungry to improve the quality of their lives through their purchases, through engagement with business owners and farmers. So when we look at flower farming, we see that we can connect through it. And therefore, could you clarify again? I'm sorry, I feel like my mind wandered.
No. So insofar as like this, giving some attention to urban flower farming, how is that helping what you're doing here and sort of the movement that is occurring?
Oh, of course. It's raising customer awareness. So, the biggest growth factor in the economy is consumer spending. So when consumers feel connected to this product, when they care about the environmental sustainability aspect, when they care about how people are being paid and what sort of benefits they're being offered, the longevity of their flowers, when customers are aware of this, then they can demand these types of products being available for them.
And Mima, I understand that you come from a social work background.
That's right.
So now you're growing these flowers, and from the interviews that I've heard each of you do before, there is this an aspect of social justice that seems to be part of what you do. Is there, a farmed flower justice that you would say is part of what you do at Urban Buds?
Yes, where we plant on the alleyways and in places where, our community doesn't normally see agriculture. Miranda and I both were working in with community gardens, and we had a youngster. I mean, he wasn't 6; he was like 12. Actually, ask us if we could plant some bacon.
Okay.
And I mean, we all laugh at that,
right?
But that's really tragic. That we've come so disconnected from where our food comes from that we're worried about the next generation. And to be planting in this, have urban farms happening in the city really helps bring agriculture into the city where people can really see that. It just really brings it all right in here where you can't miss it.
Right.
Where at Urban Buds, they could see a plug grow into a flower, and they're like amazed that it's happening on our alleyways. We plant on the corner of Osceola and Grand in the city, very major traffic way where people can, just that half a second to give you that peace and that joy, just to see it, really, really helps people in their lives.
And you all have been now operating for 11 years. Have there been many people who didn't realize you were doing what you were doing? Miranda?
Yeah, I think that people are always curious, at least about the property, or the ins and out of urban farming as a business is rather complex, and we won't necessarily get into it now. But for the property, just got a sign for the first time this year, and so people have more of an understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So we just like to have open houses and tours and just share on social media and build the movement that if you can't get local flowers from us, please seek them out from someone else, right? Because this is a powerful way to make positive change in your community and in the environment. And so just like farm to table, this is seed to centerpiece.
Okay. And sometimes the centerpiece is also edible.
Indeed.
Yes, that's correct.
What kind of advice do you give to people here in the city or in this region who want to strengthen their connection to flowers, to food, and to the nature around us? Mimo, what do you tell them?
Visit your local farmer's market. Learn what your farmer, know your farmer. Really get to know what products are available locally, and to, really just support your local farmers and educate your children. And farmers market is a great place to take your kids for an education.
And is that sort of the chief way people have come to know about urban buds in particular?
Yeah, we have a very robust following at the Tower Grove Farmers Market, and yes, I think that's a really great way that people have come to know us. During the pandemic, we really our business kind of boomed, and people really found out about us through the pandemic.
Why do you think that was, Miranda?
Because people had some measure of disposable income when they were shut down and locked in, and they wanted to feel connected to something growing and alive and beautiful. And so it just worked out very well.
And you said I never left social work, or I was in social work before. I don't believe I've ever left social work. This was all part, giving flowers to someone, making them happy, giving them that peace, that joy that comes with flowers is a form of social work. It's uplifting. It's making people feel better.
Now, there were 200 conference goers from, again, all over North America and at least a couple from Europe who signed up for tours of your flower farm in Dutchtown yesterday. And I saw a multi-part IG reel that showed just how thrilled people were with the experience, with what they saw. What was that like for you, Mima?
Oh, wow. It's kind of, I call it my, bird song. It's my family coming to visit me. It is a family reunion. These are people that I know, growers that I've known all for years, all over the country, excuse me, who have never really seen. It was like our baby. It's like, it's like showing somebody your newborn.
Right, right.
And them just going, wow, you do all of this here? And that was just exhilarating. And I'm really grateful that it was the first day of the conference, because now I can relax and enjoy the rest of the time with my friends.
Right, right. And then for your part, Miranda, as you're watching people come through, did they have really interesting questions for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a meeting of the minds. Certainly, I looked at every single one of those attendees as colleagues, and that they all had something we can learn from. So kind and constructive criticism was certainly welcomed. But it was just such a special day yesterday, and we are so honored that people care about this project, this little engine that is happening, and that people have interest in doing something similar in their areas.
Yeah.
And just one more thing is that I've been going to these tours at other people's farm for years. So to go for them to come to my farm, they didn't see anything new that they didn't teach me. You know, it was like my opportunity, our opportunity to give back to them.
Yeah.
And I would add, it also just felt so freeing to say to folks, nothing's off the table. You can ask anything right now about the business, about how we do it within our relationship, the family, whatever it is. And that was incredibly freeing.
Is that atypical at like trade shows? Yes.
Yes.
I've never been. So rather
that
than
is
a spirit of
atypical.
competition,
Yes.
there's a lot of, you're cultivating together.
Correct.
The goal of this project was to build the local movement. And within the St. Louis metro region, there are more flower farmers now. And so a consequence of doing our good work is, yes, we're building our competition, but also we're building the movement. And that's more important.
Okay. Now, you talked earlier about what you're doing at the conference, specifically having attended a session about scientific studies that shows how having flowers increases happiness and quality of life. What are some of the other topics that are being covered?
Designing more with native plants. Last night there was a floral demonstration by the Flower Hat. Julio, the Flower Hat, there was a demo by him last night, and there are other topics that are going to be covered today. There's a whole list. I'm drawing a blank right now. But,
People are really curious in kind of the nitty-gritty, growing ranunculus, growing dahlias, certainly, but then it's always balanced with like business, bookkeeping, and then post-harvest handling, which is our advantage, is being able to grow unique, hard-to-ship varieties and then treating them well so you get them at the height of beauty.
Okay. So the height of beauty, what is a flower hat before I...
I'm sorry,
this
that is a
moment?
business.
Okay.
That is Julio Flores. That's not his name.
We often refer to each other as our business names
you do? Okay.
in the conference. We'd be
Okay.
like, oh, there's Farmer Bailey. Oh,
Yeah.
there's Little State Flower Company.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is at its peak right now, as far as what you are growing? Yeah.
Yeah, right now in the greenhouse we have incredible, we're getting ready for our Thanksgiving flowers, and we have incredible, beautiful mums in the greenhouse, ornamental cabbages, eucalyptus, what else is in there? Roses. We're just getting ready, gearing up for... Ginger is still in the greenhouse. We're just gearing up right now for our Thanksgiving.
And Miranda, is there anything that you all have become known for among the flowers that you grow? So you were talking about things that are like that are hard to grow in certain places. Like what does Urban Buds do really well?
Urban Buds does season extension really well. So having beautiful ranunculus in March, being able to hit Valentine's Day, the early spring holidays, including Mother's Day. So ranunculus, we'll say it over and shout it to the heavens. People love our ranunculus. Icelandic poppies are another crowd pleaser, fan favorite. And the sweet peas, I'm going to say it, people go gaga over anything with fragrance.
Yeah. Now, is there anything else budding in the world of urban flower farming that really excites you?
Budding in urban flower farming.
Yeah, for me, what excites me is that there's so much interest in this. So the idea of people expanding more into education, like workshops. When we say what's the best thing someone can do to connect with their local food movement or flower, is plant a garden yourself. So get your hands dirty, help people feel empowered. I'd say the other thing that's really exciting right now in urban flower farming is that there's really this awareness that we can work with the city, work with the government, work with the community to create supportive systems that allow this type of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's wonderful to hear that after 11 years of work on Urban Buds that you've been able to introduce people to it right here in St. Louis. Miranda Duschack is co-owner of Urban Buds and a small farm specialist at Lincoln University's STL Extension, and Mimo Davis is co-owner of Urban Buds Flower Farm in South St. Louis and vice president of the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers. Thank you both for sneaking away from the conference to talk with us today.
Oh, thank you for having us.
It means the world to us that you're care. Thank you.
This episode was produced by Elaine Shaw.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
St. Louis on the Air proudly supports local artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.